Beneath the earth's skin, they wait, hollows in stone, shadowed and still. Pecked by hands lost to time, whisper secrets of a world submerged. Were they tools of survival or altars to the stars? Along coasts from Chile to California, they cluster, teasing a trail, perhaps a highway drowned by rising seas. Bedrock mortars, those enigmatic hollows pecked and ground into stone, stand as silent witnesses to human ingenuity. These features, known by many names, cupules, morteros, piedras tacitas, dot the earth like a constellation of forgotten labor. They are not mere curiosities, but tools, altars, and perhaps even maps of the cosmos, carved by hands long turned to dust. My focus here, however, narrows to the west coast of the Americas, where a striking juxtaposition emerges between the arid valleys of central Chile and the oak-draped hills of California. These regions, bound by the Pacific's restless edge, share a deep history of bedrock mortars, or BRMs, often nestled beside petroglyphs, hinting at a shared cultural thread among ancient American civilizations. And into this story rides Super Gringo, myself, a wanderer on a dual-sport motorcycle, mapping these ancient scars across South America for the past 15 years. As the sun dips low over the Andes, casting long shadows across the cactus-strewn valleys of central Chile, my Kawasaki KLR hums beneath me, its knobby tires kicking up dust as I weave through switchbacks toward yet another cluster of BRMs. My journey began in the early 2000s, a restless gringo with a motorcycle and a map, drawn to the whispers of Chile's archaeological past. Central Chile, with its dense concentration of BRMs, became my proving ground. From the Coquimbo region to the fringes of Santiago, I've logged thousands of miles, my pannier stuffed with notebooks, cameras, and GPS gear. Each site I find, Valle del Encanto, Chalinga, Rio Hurtado, adds a pin to a sprawling map of human history, a testament to the people who shaped these stones millennia ago. Before we dive into the Americas, let's cast a wider net. Bedrock mortars appear worldwide, their forms and functions as varied as the cultures that made them. In India's Bhimbetka rock shelters, shallow cupules date back perhaps 10,000 years, packed into sandstone by hunter-gatherers. In the Levant, deeper mortars from the Natufian period, circa 12,500 to 9,500 BC, held traces of wild barley, evidence of early plant processing. Australia's Aboriginal peoples ground seeds in sandstone hollows, some dated to 30,000 years ago, while it marks a line with solstice shadows, suggesting a celestial purpose. These global examples frame the BRMs of the Americas, where their density and diversity along the Pacific coast stand out. Here, they are not isolated artifacts, but part of a broader cultural landscape, often paired with petroglyphs, rock carvings of spirals, anthropomorphs, and geometric forms that hint at ritual and meaning. Now, let's ride the fault lines of the America's western edge, where Chile and California offer a compelling contrast. In Chile, the Valle del Encanto, a rocky gorge 26 kilometers west of Valle, is a crown jewel of BRM sites. Here, amid a cactus-filled valley, I've stood before dozens of mortars, some shallow cupules, others deep conical hollows, carved into basalt outcrops. Archaeologists attribute these to the El Molle culture, thriving from 300 BC to AD 700, though some argue for origins as early as 2000 BC. The site's petroglyphs, human figures, masks, and abstract lines, cluster near the mortars, suggesting a sacred space. Residues in these mortars reveal wheat and possibly hallucinogenic plants like anademanthera, pointing to a multi-tool role, grinding food, preparing medicines, or crafting psychoactive brews for shamanic rites. Cross the equator to California, where BRMs pepper the landscape from the Sierra Nevada to the coastal ranges. At the Indian Grinding Rock State Historic Park in Amador County, 1,285 mortar holes, the largest collection in North America, scar a marbleized limestone slab. The Miwok people, who occupied this region for at least 2,000 to 3,000 years, pounded acorns here, turning bitter nuts into meal for bread or gruel. Nearby petroglyphs, etched into the same outcrop, date back as far as 3,000 years, their concentric circles and zigzags echoing designs found in Chile. Other California sites, like the Little Petroglyph Canyon in the Coso Range, pair mortars with thousands of carvings, some possibly 10,000 years old, linked to the region's earliest inhabitants. What unites these bedrock mortars across continents and coasts is their versatility. They were not single-purpose tools, but multi-tools of survival and ceremony. In Chile, the deeper mortars at Valle del Encanto likely processed grains or roots, while shallower cupules may have held offerings or marked celestial events. Some align with solstice sunrises. Chemical traces suggest psychoactive use, a bridge to the spirit world, a practice mirrored in California's Coso range, where shamans may have ground datura alongside acorns. The Miwok's acorn grinding was a dietary cornerstone, but the proximity of petroglyphs hints at ritual significance, perhaps a thanksgiving for the harvest. Globally, bedrock mortars served as mills, altars, and even acoustic devices. In South Africa, cupules resonate when struck, suggesting a sonic role in ceremonies. Dating mortars is a slippery task. Stone doesn't yield to radiocarbon, but context offers clues. In Chile, Valle del Encanto's align with El Molle and some Inca pottery and tools dated to 300 BC to AD 700, though older cupules may predate this by centuries. In central Chile, where I've mapped hundreds of sites, some clusters near archaic hunter-gatherer tools push estimates back to 8,000 to 10,000 years before present. The bedrock mortars I've chased across the Americas carry a litany of names, each a shard of cultural memory. In California's Sierra foothills, the Miwok called them gossip stones, a moniker born from the chatter that filled the air as women gathered to grind acorns. Picture it, under the shade of live oaks, hands wielding pestles, voices weaving tales of hunts, births, and quarrels. The mortar's rhythmic thud, stone on stone, set the tempo for these communal symphonies, a social glue as vital as the meal they produced. Ethnographers like Alfred Kroeber noted this in the early 20th century, preserving the term from Miwok elders. It's a name that lingers, a whisper of lives lived around these hollows 2,000 to 3,000 years ago. Farther east, in the southeastern United States, these features morph into hominy holes. The Cherokee and Creek-pounded corn here, turning kernels into hominy, a staple of grit and sustenance. At sites like Georgia's Track Rock Gap, where I've mapped dozens of mortars, these shallow basins, some dated to 1000 BC, bear the wear of maize processing. The name hominy holes, stuck in colonial records, a nod to the nixtamalization process that softened corn with ash or lime. But the Southeast offers a kaleidoscope of labels: nutting stones for hickory and walnut grinding, cup stones for their shape. This technology, so elemental yet ingenious, vanished like smoke across the Americas. Its decline eerily synced with the European arrival post-1492. In Chile, the El Molle and Diaguita mortars fell silent by the 1600th century as Spanish encomiendas disrupted native lifeways. In California, the Miwok abandoned gossip stones as missions and ranchos upended their world by the 1800s. In the southeast, Cherokee hominy holes faded as removal in the 1830s scattered communities. The pestle's thud gave way to iron mills and imported grain, a shift abrupt and absolute. By the 17th century, this ancient craft, perhaps 10,000 years old, was a ghost, its practitioners lost to disease, displacement, and a new order. Bedrock mortars often align with the heavens, a cosmic dance carved in rock. At Chile's Valle del Encanto, I've traced cupules that mirror Orion's belt, their pattern tilting with the constellation's rise, perhaps an artistic nod to the hunter in the sky. Dated to El Molle times, In California's Coso Range, petroglyphs near mortars echo Pleiades, while some solitary deep holes, locals say, mark bright stars like Sirius. I've heard this from weathered farmers and Mapuche descendants. The deeper the mortar, the farther the star it represents, a folk astronomy etched in basalt. These alignments, intentional or not, suggest mortars may have doubled as star maps, binding Earth to sky in a silent, ancient art. Bedrock mortar sites also may support the kelp highway theory, marking coastal migration routes, as many of these are usually found near the coasts. If mortars could be found with bathymetric data below the ocean, where coastal cities flourished before water levels rose around 13,000 years ago, then this would completely change migration theories into the Americas. Now consider a deeper layer, around 13,000 years ago. As the last glacial maximum faded, melting ice sheets raised sea levels by 120 meters, swallowing coastlines worldwide. Coastal hubs, not cities of brick, but camps of hide and wood, may have thrived where kelp forests flourished, now lost beneath the waves. If mortars mark these places, as they do on land, could they lie submerged, poised to rewrite migration stories? Off Chile's Atacama coast, bathymetric maps reveal sunken shells. Off California, drowned shores near the Channel Islands hint at lost ground. These mortars, pecked into bedrock, might cluster under sediment, relics of a submerged highway. Underwater finds, like 9,000-year-old fish weirs off British Columbia, prove such preservation is possible. If mortars could be located with bathymetric data, targeting ancient shorelines from 15,000 BC, they could dismantle the Clovis first model, pushing human entry into the Americas back millennia. Oral traditions fuel this speculation. In Chile's Coquimbo region, locals speak of lost stones, claimed by the sea, tales from fishers who trawl over submerged ridges. These hints suggest mortars as coastal markers, now underwater, mapping the kelp highway's full sweep. Imagine clusters of Los Vilos, shallow mortars for seeds, deep ones for stars, etched by kelp-reliant pioneers. If found, they'd prove maritime foragers, not inland hunters, led the way into the Americas, a paradigm shift grounded in stone. Across the Americas, bedrock mortars trace a continuum from the archaic period to the formative, reflecting the shift from foraging to settled life. These mortars are not random relics, but fingerprints of ancient American civilizations. In Chile, the El Molle gave way to the Diaguita, AD 1000 to 1536, who built on earlier traditions, their mortars dotting the Andes' western slopes. Further south, the Mapuche resisted Inca expansion, leaving fewer mortars, but a fierce legacy. In California, the Miwok, Pomo, and Olom descendants of earlier peoples crafted a mosaic of small societies, their mortars sustaining life amid oak groves. The petroglyphs beside these mortars, from Valle del Encanto's masked figures to Coso's bighorn sheep, suggest a cosmology shared across vast distances, perhaps carried by migrations or trade along the Pacific Rim. Back on my motorcycle, the dust of central Chile coats my boots as I plot the next site. Bedrock mortars are more than holes in rock. They're portals to a lost world. From Valle del Encanto's starry alignments to California's acorn-stained hollows, they whisper of multitool lives, of food and faith intertwined. My maps grow, my videos pile up, and the hum of my KLR carries me forward. The west coast of the hills holds a story etched in stone. The ocean churns, a restless keeper of what once was. Somewhere beneath its depths, bedrock mortars may lie, their hollows cradling a story yet untold. Each wave that breaks against the shore carries an echo, a call to seek beyond the silt and shadow. As the earth holds its breath, the stones wait, patient, enduring, for a light to pierce the abyss, revealing a past that stretches farther than we dare to dream.